So in terms of the way Outcomex approaches IoT, it's probably worthwhile for me to break up IoT into a few different stages or phases, if you want to call it that. You've got the sensors that you've got to put on devices, and these are the devices that are collecting information. Those need to connect, and you need a physical network for that, and that's generally technologies such as LoRaWAN, RFID, Wi-Fi, 4G, 5G, your more common ones. That's a physical state. You then need to bring that into the cloud or a centralized solution, and you've got a few more servers in there, things like applications, network server that does the ingestion, and a join server that does all the end-to-end security. And then you've got to get that to a user somehow. So the fourth part of that is the visualization of that. So get that to a smartphone, tablet, PC, any browser-enabled device. This is the unique thing of what Outcomex offers. We actually deploy end-to-end solutions that contains all four of those parts. So one of the biggest benefits of having those four parts, the end-to-end, all from one provider, is that they all operate actually quite differently. And if you've got an overarching solution that can bring all four of those together and make them one, it just simplifies it for the end user. Look, I think our key differentiator is the fact that we've produced an end-to-end platform, right? We're doing all four parts, like I explained earlier, in terms of the sensors, physical network, and so on. We've got the full end-to-end platform. But what we do further is we've also got a program that we run internally, which we call Top Gun. And with this program, we make sure that we test everything in the field for a minimum of 6 months before we actually adopt that and make that available to customers. So, for example, you have new sensors coming out that would claim a battery life of 3 to 5 to 7 years, and you can only test that by actually putting it out in the field. We'll have sensors that are meant to work out in the agriculture or in the open space that are IP67 rated. We'll be looking at that. We'll be testing and putting them out in extreme conditions and making sure that they do last as long as they say. If you pull out a battery, they don't lose all the settings. They've got some sort of NovRAM built into them, so that it makes things easier down the line. There's this overlying alliance, which is called LoRa Alliance, which publishes a best practice around how things should be built from a security sensor and all aspects. What we do is we conform to that and make sure that our solution is best practice. So one of the key differentiators in our platform, one of our advantages that we see, is we've actually used the same platform, the core components of that platform, and we've managed to adapt that to different industries. So things like in healthcare, aged care, things like smart cities, councils, building providers, the multiplexes, the lend leases, and those sort of people. We're actually able to adopt the same system, just customize it to the end user required experience. You'll find that the use cases that you use in one environment don't really apply to the other. So it's quite key to get in, understand what the client's needs and customize to that requirement.
So Outcomex has been building enterprise-grade networks for many, many years now, and it's really time to start loading those things up with amazing use cases. And IoT is one of those fantastic use cases that we can take and deploy on infrastructure that we've already built, and that is really valuable for our customers. I think it's been a perfect storm. I think we've seen the proliferation of these open protocols like LoRa, which are really, really important to us. Proliferation of great networks with amazing security behind them and resiliency and so forth that are driving great corporate outcomes. Sensor technology, battery technology that's really maturing fast. Mm-hmm. So if we look at what's been available for us to go and place into these solutions over the last sort of 5, 6, 7 years, all of those components have really come up, and it's created this perfect storm of capability. All it needs providers like us to go and invest in building platforms to ingest the data, wash the data, drive the algorithms that drive the results, and then customers to take that leap of faith in terms of helping us understand their problems and their workflows and allowing us to optimize their environments.
And I think something that you said there is quite key. We've been doing networks for the last 20 years, and in order to get an IoT network, it's just like a few years ago when we were doing IP telephony and video and so on. The underlying architecture needs to be sound, it needs to be solid, and IoT is no different. Bringing an IoT solution together, you need that core network underneath, and it's something that we're very comfortable and we've been doing for a long time.
So coming up in the next video, we're going to talk about some things that you may need to consider when moving into IoT. Security, wireless access, some of the fundamentals that we've learned over the last 18 months.